everybody, CW here. I want to talk a little about one of my favorite rifles. You're looking at it here. It's an old Marlin 782 magazine fed, removable magazine fed, because they all have magazines. 22 Magnum, 22 WMR. And I'll show you the barrel stamping in a minute. Well, it looks over here. This one here was made in 1977. I was under the assumption it was older than that. Don't really know why I thought that, but I did. And I was on a forum. I mentioned this in another video. And a guy had one with a slightly older serial number than mine. And it was 75, I think. So I said, whoa, I guess I'm not as old as I thought I was. And I had a Simmons 4-12 on here. And it was fine. It was a fine scope. It never gave me a problem. It shot really well. It's just an old school 80s Simmons scope. And a number of years ago, a friend of mine showed me a Hawk scope, a Hawk Vantage, dedicated rimfire scope that he bought and put on one of his rifles. And I got to shoot it and immediately fell in love with the scope. Just a tremendous scope. And I went right out and I ordered one. At that time, they were about 150, 175 bucks. So, you know, not pocket change, but it wasn't overly expensive. And I mounted it on my 22 long rifle, Marlin 880 Squirrel that you saw me just do in that last Grinchmas challenge. And you saw the scope too. Really nice scope. It's designed for subs, which means a standard velocity 22 long rifle. And I like it a lot. Then I discovered that they offered the same exact scope with a reticle designed for the 22 Magnum. And here's the... I hurt my hand, so it's hard to do this. Here's the barrel roll mark. You can see there it says model. It says Marlin, Firearms Company, North Haven, Connecticut, USA. Model 782, micro groove, caliber 22, WMR only. And this factory building is about 12 or 13 miles from where I'm starting this video right here. So it's local to me. I've been there many times, been in there many times. It's a shame that it's now not Marlin anymore. And so anyway, those 22 Magnum scopes. I sold off a couple of scopes and I ordered 2 of them. I sold off a couple other scopes to help fund the new scopes. These were a little more money. These were about $219 or so at the time. And they have a dedicated reticle for each caliber. And it's got hash marks out to, I think, 250, maybe 300 with 22 Magnum, but at least 250. And the long rifle had hash marks to basically 200, but it's labeled 175. And I've shot it all the way out to 200, and it's really close. You don't have to use your turrets. You just use the reticle. It is illuminated, red and green, and it's got little bitty pluses for each tick or hash mark. And each one's labeled in 25-yard increments. So you got 50 yards, 75 yards, 100, and then 150, 175, 200. So anyway, I never did get one for this rifle. And I was surfing the other day, and I came across this used on eBay. And this is a 4-12 Vantage. Let me go to the bell of the scope, and hopefully you can read it. 4-12 by 40 Vantage. You can see it right there. And these are really nice glass, really nice scopes for the money. They've gone up quite a bit. This one here is close to 3 now. I think it's 279 beans. So it's they've gone up quite a bit. And this one is not a rimfire dedicated, a 22 Magnum rimfire dedicated. It's the adjustable objective. And to me, it's fine. I'll only buy a rimfire scope for a rimfire or a focusable or adjustable objective scope for a rimfire. And the reason for that is the parallax. And I talked about this in a different video. Parallax is the relationship of your crosshairs to your target. And if you could check parallax, you can do this. You get your firearm in a solid, rigid rest. And you look through the scope or the optic. If it's a red dot or a scope, it doesn't matter. You can check parallax. And you look through the scope and you center it up, the crosshairs in the center of the scope, and you put it on your target. Now, without touching the firearm, you move your head so that the crosshairs or the dot goes all the way around to the fringes of the scope. Okay? Run it all the way around the circle, around the fringes of the scope. And if you see it come off the target, you haven't just seen things. It really did. And that shows parallax. It's the relation of the target to the crosshairs or the dot. And the fact that it moves will cause inaccuracies. So when you have an adjustable objective or a focusable scope, you can remove that parallax by adjusting it. By focusing, you remove the parallax at that yardage. On a rimfire dedicated scope, the parallax is set from the factory. You have to look at each manufacturer to know, but it's somewhere from 50 to 75 yards. Shotgun are the same. When you get a shotgun scope, they've got a shorter parallax setting. Most high-power rifle scopes, if they don't have adjustable or focusable, are set at 100 or 125 yards, parallax-free. So anything up close, you're going to get some parallax, you're going to get inaccuracy. Not a big deal on a high-power rifle because you're not shooting close usually. And the amount it's off is only going to be a little bit. It's not going to be feet, it's going to be inches. But in a rimfire, where your targets could be pretty small at 25 yards, 20 yards, 35 yards, an inch or two movement is huge. It's a total miss. A squirrel's head or a rabbit's head, it's a total miss. So it's a big deal. So I'll only buy adjustable objectives or focusable. The focus is usually here in the middle in the center turret, or a rimfire dedicated scope. So this one was a long time coming, and like I say, it's a favorite firearm, and of course it's empty and clear. I've got a 5-round magazine in here, which you don't find very often. Usually they're 7s, but this is a 5, and it's a flush fit for the Marlin. It's a factory magazine. I don't know if this is going to come out before or after my Trigger Pull Thursday, but this one was this week's Trigger Pull Thursday. And you saw that it's got a really nice trigger pull. And there we go. The stock has been refinished. I got this from a childhood friend of mine who was wanting a 17. And I had a 17, so we worked a deal. Maybe, 30 years ago, 25 years ago. And I've had it ever since. And he refinished the stock. And he did a real nice job. So there we go. One of my favorite guns with a brand new scope. Well, brand new to me, used scope. And it seemed to track pretty good. I put it on my collimator and I ran it up and down and left and right, and it seemed to track pretty good. So I think it's going to be okay. It looks nice and clear. And it's going to be a nice new addition to the scope, to the rifle. Again, I had a 4-12 on it, but it was a Simmons, and I won't talk down about them. I like Simmons. They've been good to me. But like I say, it was probably a late 80s, early 90s Simmons 4-12. And this has just got better glass. It's got better, more clear glass. And plus it's got a etched reticle, just like the other one. This is a mil dot reticle. So it's a duplex 30-30, a little bit wide with a series of dots on all 4 strata. So it'll give me points of impact, same as I would get with the other one. There we go. I hope you like these old Marlins. I sure do. Some of my favorites. CW out.